In this episode of the Wild Party Podcast, I'm thrilled to introduce Mistye Momon, the visionary founder of Buttafly Kisses Vegan Bakery. Misty's journey began out of necessity. She wanted to create dairy-free and egg-free desserts for her children when she couldn't find any in Atlanta. Today, Buttafly Kisses is renowned for its delicious plant-based treats that have taken the market by storm, with products featured in both local retailers and her own bakery location. In our conversation, Mistye shares the entrepreneurial challenges that she faced, from pivoting her business during the pandemic to expanding her operations. We'll also dive into her marketing strategies, including how events like the Atlanta Vegan Festival helped to grow her customer base, and the importance of social media in promoting her business. So whether you're an entrepreneur or simply someone interested in a delicious vegan lifestyle, let's get this party started. Welcome to the Wild Party Podcast, where we celebrate the visionaries behind vegan, ethical, and sustainable business. In each episode, we'll dive deep into their journeys, uncovering the why behind their mission-driven business. I'm your host, Stephanie Lahart. Tune in with me for passionate discussions about overcoming challenges, innovative marketing strategies, and the power of using business as a force for good. So whether you're an entrepreneur seeking guidance or a conscious consumer wanting to support impactful brands, join us as we explore the stories behind the businesses that are changing the world for the better. Let's get the party started. And today I am so excited, and I have to tell you, already getting hungry at the thought of our conversation. I want to introduce you to the founder of Buttafly Bakery in Atlanta and Miss Mistye, because Mistye, when I found your bakery, I have never wanted to get on a plane faster because my goodness, did it look delicious. And I believe I was introduced to your brand through the PETA Business Network. I think I found you on their directory. Is that correct?
Yes. That and I was in LA recently for the Vegan Women's Summit. So that could have been also.
I think actually that is where I first found you. Okay, now that you mention it, because I've been really utilizing both as just my resource for people to talk to. So yes, you're right. It was the Vegan Women's Summit. That is where I first found you. Okay, great. We have so much to talk about.
Yes.
Specifically, oh my goodness, I'm just hungry just even thinking about it. But tell me the origin story for you. How did you decide you wanted to launch this beautiful vegan business bakery?
Well, Stephanie, thank you for asking. It originally started for a love of my children. They were not able to consume any dairy products or egg products as they were growing up as children. And when we went to celebrations and birthday parties, they were always left out. I would have to bring a granola cup or a fruit bowl for them. And it just wasn't the same, And I was so tired of not having access to vegan desserts or plant-based desserts and desserts made with organic, non-GMO ingredients that tasted delicious. And so my son was turning 1. And his father encouraged me to make his birthday cake because I'm like, where am I going to get a cake from? Like, I am so over this. And so I made his first birthday cake, and they attended, drum roll please, a vegan daycare at the time, which was amazing. And in that daycare, of course, you couldn't bring outside food unless it was vegan or plant-based. And so I brought his cake. Everyone loved it and asked me if I actually baked cakes. I was like, well, I don't know, I don't think so, but let me bake some more. Long story short, I started baking more for the teachers, and they decided to allow me to be the resident baker for all the parents who were having birthdays for their children. So anytime there was a 1-year-old birthday at the daycare and at the center, they would call me, the parents would order for me, and I would provide them with a cake or cupcakes. And I was like, this might be something, At the time, I was an educator. I taught in Atlanta public schools. So I was a teacher at the time. And I knew that I loved teaching, but I also knew that there was more for me. And so I really wanted to fill the gap and fill that need for delicious, organic, plant-based, vegan desserts that was missing in my community. And when I looked around, that was missing, in the retail sector as well. And so Buttafly Kisses Vegan Treats was born.
And I love when I hear that from business owners. It's like, you know what? I had a problem. I created a solution to it. And then I realized other people were interested in it too. And,
Absolutely.
we still see so much of that in the vegan sector. So a little bit of my backstory. I was a vegetarian since I was 16 and then went strictly vegan about 8 years ago. And I'm sure you get this question all the time. People are always like, what do you eat? Like they're just astounded. I'm like,
Like
well,
it's
please
vegetables.
understand that please understand when you're looking at your dinner plate, your animal products on that plate can
We're
actually,
seasoned
yeah,
with vegetables.
exactly. It's like, but it's a smaller portion of what you're actually eating than you even realize.
Yeah.
Unless you get into the whole dairy situation, which we will in a second, the fact that milk isn't everything. But,
Yeah.
there's still like, well, what do you eat? So I explained to them, and then it became like, well, you can never have desserts. And it just, people can't fathom that you can bake without animal products. And I'm like,
Yeah.
okay, first of all, I realized we need to have a better chemistry and science program in our education system because they don't understand why eggs are in products. Like
Exactly.
it's a
It's
binder.
literally science. It's
It's literally
literally
science.
it's
And
literally
literally.
science. And
Yeah, they're
and
like,
it is a binder. Sometimes it's a leavening agent, it fluffs things up for certain things. And some of those things, you may have to be super creative, but I agree with you on the scientific portion of it. Like what can mimic this in the plant world, in the natural world, that we don't have to use eggs. And so knowing those scientific elements and how they work together and when they come together, what they do is paramount. I agree.
yeah, absolutely. It's like because they don't understand why it's in there, so they don't understand how to replace it. So I imagine with you, with your background in education, you quickly were able to be like, yeah, I understand how things work. Like I understand how things work and how to put them together. So the big leap for you then is like, okay, I'm going to leave my career in education and I'm going to start baking as a business. Take me through a little bit of that journey when you decide, okay, I'm going to do this bakery thing because I actually just had a conversation with someone in LA just recently. They just passed an ordinance or a ruling that says you can now have a home-based food business
Okay.
because now what they'll allow you to do is do your certifications and your inspections, but you can have it home-based. You don't have to do the industrial kitchens anymore. I
Right.
think probably back when you first started, you were still looped into that. So tell me, what was it like then for you deciding I want to start a baking business?
Absolutely. The original goal for Butterfly Kisses Vegan Treats, which is still our mission, is to be in retail stores, big box retailers, independent grocery stores nationwide. So it was more of a manufacturing, start for the business where it wasn't like I wanted people to come to my bakery, but I wanted to create products so that people can have easy access to those products. So if they went to their local market, their independent grocery store, their restaurants, their local juice bar, they were able to pick up a Butterfly Kisses vegan treat. And so when I looked at it that way, it was like, okay, well, this is easy. I'll just manufacture. I don't have to have a standalone bakery for people to come in. I just need a space that's certified for people to for me to make the products, and people could come in if they wanted to and pick up some things. But so starting from there, I looked into shared kitchens and what that looked like and what I needed, what licensing I needed to process and packaging I needed to process in order to get my products out into stores and into restaurants. And once I went to the Atlanta Vegan Festival, I think it was around 2013, I went to Atlanta Vegan Festival. One of my parents actually suggested, it's like, hey, they knew I baked. It was like, hey, there's an Atlanta Vegan Festival. You should check it out. No, you bake. Maybe it's something that you would be interested in. So I went the first year just to kind of peruse and see what it was like. And I was like, I'm going to be here next year. This is what I'm going to do. So I came up with the name for Buttafly Kisses. I hired someone very quickly to create a logo for me. I got some stickers and I prepared to be at the festival the following year. I went to the festival. I baked all night. I went to the festival because they didn't have regulations, things like that for a festival. So it was okay to bake at home. And I sold out. And I was like, this is it. This is the moment. This is I knew it, I was so excited and I really wanted to stop teaching immediately. But of course, the responsible people in my life were like, well, just give it a second, take a year, get your things in order. And I did. I got my ducks in a row and I resigned from teaching to jump into Butterfly Kisses Vegan Treats full time. And in that sense, I needed to find a place to bake. If I was going to be serious and take this away from festivals, but try to get into locations, I needed a certified kitchen. And I started looking around for shared kitchens. And that's where we started. In shared kitchens, I started renting out time and slowly increased. I was able to be blessed to work up under a mentor pastry chef who was on Top Chef Pastry Chef. And she was amazing. Even though it wasn't vegan, she still was able to give me so much insight into how to grow a business with pricing and everything. So starting in the shared kitchens was where everything began for Buttafly Kisses Vegan Treats.
Yeah, and not only do you have your online store, which, of course, I'm looking at, and you do ship across the US, which is exciting, but you're in 10 retail locations around your area too, right?
Yes, yes. After those shared kitchens, I went. She moved to Amsterdam, so she closed her kitchen. So I had to look for another space, and I was able to be up under another wonderful baker as well, sharing her kitchen. And then COVID happened, and she had to close her location. And I'm, wondering like, what am I going to do? And I was able to build out a commercial kitchen, and then that had to close. And now I'm in my own retail space. So it is my personal retail bakery. So people can walk in as well as where we manufacture. So that has been great. I am so excited about the fact that now people can actually come into the bakery and grab our treats as well as we manufacture and ship to our different retail locations. I actually had 2 deliveries today to our partners here in Atlanta, and I'm excited about the growth of Buttafly Kisses and how many places that we can have our products in so that people can have a dairy and plant-based option.
Yeah, I've been all over your Instagram, so I've seen you actually doing the in-store deliveries, which just looks so fun. You're pushing your cart around, and I mean, how exciting, to be the one to be like delivering it to a store, because brick and mortar holds a lot of credibility for people to be like, oh, you're in store, you're in multiple
Exactly.
locations.
You're so right, Stephanie. Because before this, I mean, I was at farmers markets and I was doing vending, and I still was in my shared kitchen. And, people gave a different energy when it was just like, oh, yes, I don't have a space. And they will always ask, do you have a brick and mortar? And I could just tell, not that they were disappointed, but they were just like, oh, okay. But now when I'm like, no, I have a brick and mortar you can actually come to. And they're like, oh, okay, you're official. I'm like, I am.
Well, it's just like I tell people, as far as like having like a printed written book, it still holds so much credibility to have something tangible and substantial that people can actually see and experience, like you said, in the real world. So seeing how you were, it seems from where I'm sitting, quickly scaled to having these in-store locations and then also your own space. But as you mentioned, with the pandemic, things went sideways for a lot of people. So when you were experiencing those difficulties along the way of like having to find new kitchens or even new suppliers, how do you deal with that as an entrepreneur and a small business person? Like, where do you find your strength to be like, I'll figure this out? Because as an entrepreneur, there's no handbook. It doesn't matter if your business looks similar. Everybody's journey is different. So give us a little insights, Misty, of like, how do you take the next step when it looks like everything in the world's against you? During the pandemic, it was against everyone.
It was against everyone. I really, honestly, Stephanie, I really questioned if this is what I'm supposed to be doing, because when her location shut down, Atlanta was on a lockdown. And so no one was outside. There was a curfew and everything. But yet I'm still in the bakery baking for the locations that, carried our products, which was a great blessing for me to be able to still have, that outlet and not just have that retail model of our business. And so it was challenging to source ingredients from suppliers because a lot of suppliers were either upping their prices or their products were not available for me to use. So I really had to pivot and go into online and doorside pickup, curbside pickup for people. And I kind of had to open up a new model for myself, but also have the resilience to like really keep going when the pricing just increased like at least 75%. Like just for the little things, and as well as products were not available. So now I'm sourcing from places I've never sourced from. But yeah, I really, what I have in my heart is to really to share with people, this beauty of vegan and plant-based desserts and vegan and plant-based foods. And I really wanted to stay focused on what the mission is for me, right? Not just, oh, let me survive this, but let me make sure that people can still have access to this. Let me make sure that this is something that I'm truly able to do. And I'm going to find a way to do it either way. So it was definitely challenging. But I think, I spoke to someone who always sees me deliver. And she was like, she calls me Buttafly. She says, Buttafly, you're so consistent. You're so consistent. I've seen a lot of people come in and out. I've seen a lot of brands come in and out, but you remain consistent. And so it had me think about, well, consistency is key. So during that time, I just made sure I was consistent. I delivered on the same days. The volume might have changed. Some pricing might have changed, but I made sure that I stayed consistent and the business stayed consistent, whatever we were going through, as much as I could. And I think that really helped to, propel us and keep us staying afloat and keep us to where we are now.
Yeah, and I'm definitely going to, I think I'm going to align this with the fact that you are genuinely a super mom, because I know you do have a large family. And I do believe that sometimes, when your responsibilities are larger, it makes you show up larger in this world. And I
Well
see
said.
that with you. You never hold back. I've never seen you use it as an excuse, because I do realize a lot of people, when they want to start a business, they'll use certain things as an excuse. Well, I don't have time for this because I have this, or when this is off my plate, I'll do this. And what I've seen from you is you're just like full throttle. You're like, this is what I believe in. I want to create this business. I want to support veganism and have something that is available for my children to be able to celebrate. And you didn't sit there and say, no, I'll wait until after my kids are grown or after they're out of
Wow.
college. And a lot of people wait, and you just launched full throttle. In
Yeah. Thank
fact,
you for
I think
saying that.
maybe you shouldn't have called yourself Butterfly. Maybe you should have called yourself Condor, because you just flew, girl. You just flew.
Thank you,
You didn't
Stephanie.
you
I
didn't
received
gently
that.
take off like a butterfly. For anyone who is not aware of your story, I mean, Misty, you had an idea and you ran with it. And I really applaud you for that, because we need more people like you that are not afraid and are willing to take that leap and go so big. So
Thank you. Thank you so much for saying that. They really are. My family also is really the reason why I do keep going, because I want to show them, like, you can do this. You can't. I was a teacher for 14 years. I have an early childhood education degree. It wasn't in baking. It wasn't in business. And, I really wanted to show them, if there's a passion that you have in your heart and in your spirit, that you can absolutely switch. You can change, you can go for it, and you can go full throttle and be successful at it, and they drive me every day to continue going, to remain successful, and to show them, like, yes, look at mommy's doing it, so when I got my brick and mortar, I think this was the first time they actually all came and were excited for me and helped me put it together. In the shared kitchens, they were just like, okay, it's cute. But when I have my own space, they help me paint, they helped me clean, they helped me move things in. And I could tell they were excited. They were creating a schedule for them to come and help work in the bakery. And that felt so good to me as a mom and a business owner. Like, okay, all of this hard work and late nights and coming home and leaving early, and not being there on Saturdays for them, is really paying off, because that does weigh a lot on me as a mom. So thank you for saying and acknowledging that.
oh yeah, for sure your kids are looking at you now like mom's a boss. Like
Yeah.
don't mess with her, because mom's actually a boss. So
Yeah.
yeah, you better stay in line there. But I know that you had mentioned in other interviews that you really grew up around a lot of strong role models.
I
So
did.
how does that speak to you now and what you're doing, and what you hope to inspire in other people that, want to start a business, and specifically, women who maybe are in the minority, or do already have a lot of family obligations? What's your advice to them?
My advice is, you can do it. You can absolutely do it. Just make a choice, decide, and start planning. I think education is paramount. As an educator, like, I'm a lifelong learner. So I think it's important to really educate yourself on exactly what it is you want to do and be an expert in your field. Like I say, my father owned his own businesses. I never saw him work for anyone. So that was also motivating for me. My neighbors were doctors and lawyers. And they own their own pediatrician, practices. And so those things were like, oh, this is possible. Like, you can have your own business. So that really inspired me to continue to keep going and to really start it. Yes, it is challenging, but it's a work of heart. It's something that I love to do, and I love overcoming the challenges and learning. So I would tell, people, women, melanated people, brown people. I would tell everybody, just stay focused and stay consistent. And if there's something that you really want to do, trust that you can do it. You really have to trust yourself enough to know that you can accomplish this goal that you have for yourself. And that, yes, there are going to be trials and tribulations. There'll be ups and there'll be downs. And just know it's just like life, ride those waves, stay with it, stay the course, and trust that you are going to get to where you're going to be.
Yeah, absolutely. And like I said, seeing people like you out there that are doing it, it just gives so much inspiration to someone to be like, yeah, I could do that too. I don't have to be
Yeah.
a certain person. I don't have to have a certain life. I can do something that makes me happy too. People so often, if you say the work, I got to go to work, it's like, oh, I got to go to work. It's like, no, you
Exactly.
should go, I'm going to go to work in a happy way, right? Because I've
Yes.
always felt that way about my career too. Like I've always loved my job. I've never been a person who's like, I hate my work. It's just something I do for a paycheck. And, meeting someone like you that seems to share that joy is awesome. Let's talk about the fact that Buttafly Kisses is also the premier vegan bakery, not only in Atlanta, but I think in the entire state at this point. Let's talk about the veganism aspect here. When did you turn vegan?
I like to tell people, and I'm with you, I like to tell people I was vegan before vegan was a word. I feel like it's definitely it was vegetarian. Vegetarian was like the umbrella, of everything. And it was not a specific category of, oh, you don't eat cheese and dairy. It just was, we were vegetarian. And so it's been about 22 years now that I've been on a plant-based diet, and it has been amazing. I don't know anything else, it to people who, because now it's very trendy, which is great. I'm so happy that so many people are on board and so many people want to talk about it and learn about it and transition into a plant-based diet and a plant-based eating. So I feel like, I feel like I'm an OG. Like, I've been doing this when it was just tofu. That's all we had to eat was just like tofu and rice and beans for protein and some vegetables. Now you have like so many plant-based options, and it is amazing. So it's been about 22 years on this journey, and my children are also raised in this lifestyle, and we wouldn't have it any other way.
Yeah, and you're right. It's so much like more acceptable now. And I don't want to call it a trend. I think people are just more educated and aware. For
Agreed.
me, I was introduced to it back in the day because I was introduced to the group PETA for the ethical treatment of animals. They're a friend of mine. And when I was, made aware of the cruelty that was happening, initially it was the beauty industry that I was learning about. And then I was like, oh,
Mhm.
wait. You mean a steak is a cow? And I'm like, now I realize, like, oh, we cover things
Yeah.
up by renaming it. It's like
Yes.
dairy is
Yes.
milk from a cow. And by the way, this is how it is extracted from the cow. And I really credit
Exactly. And
things.
what has to happen for it to get extracted? Like that's a whole like, oh my gosh, like the baby, like the calf, like the
Yes.
mom, like the machinery. And we had as a teacher, we had a field trip to watch that happen, and I'm just like, do y'all see what's happening? I know this seems
No.
normal, but like, are y'all watching what's actually happening?
No, we're so
So I
removed from
agree.
it now. And I put myself in this category. I did not realize that a cow had to be pregnant their entire life to keep producing milk. I only
Yes.
recently learned that in the last couple of years. I'm just going to say it. I'm from Philadelphia. That's my excuse. I grew up in a city. I did not
it's,
know anything about
it's
farm life. I
cheese.
swear to God. I didn't know. I was in a city. I mean, I didn't even listen. But
You're like, this
when
is
I tell
normal.
people
This
that
is what we
story,
do.
yeah,
This
I
is
tell
what we
people
do.
that story because I want them to know it's okay. It doesn't matter when in your life you become aware
No.
of these things. But
Yeah.
once you know a cow has to be pregnant its whole life, it is forcibly impregnated. When that
Yeah.
calf is born, it is immediately taken from the mother so the milk can just be extracted until that
Yeah.
cow literally drops
Constant.
dead. And I do consider the dairy industry to be one of the most cruel industries because the cows are kept alive for so long for this to happen. 8 to 12 years they're in this vicious
Brutal.
cycle.
Brutal.
And I want people to be aware of that. And I say that now because I'm like, I didn't know, and now you know. So what are you going to do about it? And I don't say you, I mean people that are listening.
Right.
So and I do want to go back to saying, we have options now. Like you can have
Yeah.
desserts without having animal products. And by the way, they're
Exactly.
delicious and you can also have your favorites, because I know you've gone out of your way to veganize a lot of these traditional kind of desserts
Yes.
that were out there. So tell
Yes.
me a little bit about your secret, let's say, methodology to how you maybe reverse engineer something like the Twinkie, when you're like, I'm going to veganize this very traditional thing. What goes into Misty's mind when she's like, I'm going to make that vegan?
I'm thinking about nostalgia. I'm thinking about the things that I enjoyed as a child and what is it that I want to eat. Yes, I fancy desserts are so nice. So what is it that I want to snack on? I kind of look at it like the Sara Lee of baking, but making it vegan. What are some treats that I enjoyed as a child, or some treats that I enjoyed just snacking on? And Twinkies were one, Rice Krispie treats were one, oatmeal cream pies. So the goal was just to kind of have that nostalgic feeling for us as adults, but make it vegan, because there are so many adults come in and they see Rice Krispie treats and they're like, oh my gosh, I have not had these in so long. And more adults are buying the Rice Krispie treats than the children, because it's something that brings us back. It's something that when you're plant-based, you just think you can just only have certain things like zucchini bread, but I really wanted to make it fun and playful and just bring that childhood, experience back to the vegan bakery with my products.
Yeah, isn't it funny when you say you're a vegan too, people automatically think of like, oh, zucchini bread and carrot cake. Like that makes it vegan. By the way, traditionally, neither of those were vegan. But I mean, they automatically think like, oh, vegetables, and then they go into like, vegetables. But we both know it can
Exactly.
be delicious. And I know you take it a step further too, because you make sure that your ingredients are non-GMO, organic, and all natural. So you're using the highest quality ingredients, because another blowback we've heard
Yeah.
in the last couple of years about veganism is what? Is people think it's just a lot of processed chemicals
Yep.
to recreate this, let's say, animal meat experience, when it's
Exactly.
not. Like the true
No.
vegetarian vegan experience is a very natural, organic, and healthy experience.
Exactly. I agree. I have so many meat eater friends, not so many, but a few meat eater friends or people that are associates who are just so confused. And I'm like, that's not what I'm doing. They're like, why would you want to make fake chicken? Like, why do you want to recreate and make it fake using all this processed stuff? Isn't that unhealthy as well? I was like, we can debate healthy and unhealthy, all day long. However, the true definition is literally like grow your vegetables and turn something delicious, into that and out of that, make something delicious out of that. Just keep it simple and natural. And yes, there's certain properties names, but it's still a natural product, so I think that's really the goal, is to just keep it simple.
Yeah, I'm not on board with this whole having to recreate things. I'm not the person that ran out and needed like a vegan burger. And in fact, there's been a lot of these vegan burger places, specifically around LA, that seem to be closing. And people are like, oh, because people
Wow.
don't want vegan burgers. And what I do is I challenge them. I say, it's not that. It's just when you're living a vegan lifestyle, you actually start to eat in a lot healthier way. And I don't gravitate towards fast food. It's not that they
Yeah.
weren't good. It's just not where I would go. I enjoy
Exactly.
having whole ingredients. I enjoy eating grains and vegetables and salad. So there's actually like chewing process in there. And,
Exactly.
that's what I think a lot of the mistake is happening, where people are like overly processing and they're like, see, people didn't want that. Well, I've learned to
Yeah.
eat in a better way. So
Yes, exactly. Like you can literally blend up vegetables and mushrooms and create your own burger. Like you don't necessarily have to have things built in a lab. Like there's so many products that are accidentally vegan, but you have to still read ingredients, and I'm not going to name the products, but you have to read the ingredients. And if there's some things that you cannot pronounce, even though it doesn't have dairy or milk or eggs in it, if you cannot pronounce the ingredients, look them up and see what they really are, because why do you still want to consume that? It still goes further than just being plant-based, but let's really look at what's in the food and make some really conscious decisions for the health and for our environment as well.
yeah, I'm glad you brought that up, because I did notice a lot of the big brands in their race to have a vegan option, specifically in the dessert area. I was
Mhm.
excited and I went and tried them, and I was not all that happy. And then I looked at the ingredients. I'm like, I don't know what any of these words are. I cannot pronounce them. I don't know what they are. And I was like, I'm not eating that. That's not delicious to me. By the
Yeah,
way, you can freeze a banana and blend it, and it tastes like, a frozen, it is a
ice
frozen
cream.
dessert. You can do that too. But
Yeah.
okay, let's talk about where you are finding your customers and where your customers are finding you. Because I know you mentioned you did take part in a lot of farmers markets, pop-ups.
Mhm.
You did the Atlanta Vegan Festival. I think the Veggie Connection was another one. So tell
Mhm.
me how these events really work into your overall marketing strategy, and how much of those are you now doing, considering you do have a fairly large footprint in brick and mortar stores and have your own store?
Agreed. Right now I have not done too many vending locations. I really try to pick and choose now because we are so busy at the brick and mortar. You know, a lot of people ask and I'm like, I don't know how I can do it. But there are a few organizations that I make sure that I connect with, and I continue to stay in contact with the farmers market, because I think fresh, sustainable food locally grown is really important, to the ecosystem and to, sustaining us locally as well. And so I do partner with them, and I do some of their events like Lady Locavores. That's a beautiful, wonderful event full of like women chefs. So I do that, and I do just a few festivals right now because the time to take to do both of those, all of those, is a lot. But I will say, when I do those events, I make sure I have marketing materials. I make sure that people at least have some samples so they can taste, even though they don't want to try it or they may be skeptical. Try a sample. And I've actually had a good 25% from those events come to my shop, and I'll say, well, I always ask people when they come in, how did you hear about us? And they say, oh, I met you when you were here vending here, or I met you when you were at this event at this festival. And I'm like, okay, that's great. And now they're my customers and they're my clients. So being able to be out in the community is important, making sure I have marketing materials, but making sure, what I found is providing samples, because a lot of people don't know. It can say vegan, it can look good, and they can be vegan themselves, and desserts can be very skeptical. But once I get those samples, they get a taste of those samples and they look me up. I got them. They're a customer for life.
It's true. I mean, hey, the big box stores know this as well. You walk into all of them and they're
They
trying
got
to,
a demo.
take some free samples because, they know if I can get it in your mouth, I can keep it in your mind.
Exactly. I
That's
love that.
it is. Get it in their mouth and keep it in their mind. And you've been done so good at that. Let me ask you then, when you were first, starting your journey and you're like, you wanted to get your product into existing locations, how were you able to convince them or approach these businesses to say, I'm a new local baker, would you carry my product? What did that conversation look like?
It started with I'm like I say, I'm a researcher. So it started with me going in and doing my little research first to see what they don't have and where I can fit in, because if you have cookies, I'm not going to offer you cookies. If you have brownies, I'm not going to offer you that. But because I have such a fulfilling line of vegan desserts, I'm able to kind of fill that need. Because if you have cookies and I offer cookies, then that's it. That's not for me. But oh, you have cookies? Okay, well, I offer brownies, I offer parfaits, I offer Rice Krispie treats. I have like 7 other items. But first of all, I started off doing the market research, seeing what products they carried already, what it looked like, what their packaging looked like, and just kind of feeling for the space and what things that I could come in and fill that need for. And then talking to some of the employees, just kind of seeing what are some people asking for, what are their customers asking for. That was a really big help. And then eventually talking to the managers and seeing, is that something that they'd be interested in, getting their contact information. And then I would email them our sales sheet and bring them by samples, of course. And then we would kind of get the process rolling, making sure I had everything squared away on my end, because I wanted to make the process easy for them as well. And so I made sure I had everything squared on my end. All they had to do was, taste it, see what we're offering, and place an order. And then we would organize everything from there.
Yeah, you really hit the nail on the head with that. It's all about problem solving. So any business can be successful if you're solving a problem for someone else. And you did that. You walked in, you're like, your problem is you don't have vegan cookies. Here's your
Exactly.
vegan cookies. And by the way, I already have a very easy ordering process for you.
Yeah.
So really having the forethought and that planned out to make it seamless, it makes it all the difference for people. Because if you walk in and you're creating a job for someone else, they're not going to do it.
No,
And
they're not. They're like, this
no,
is more work for me.
no.
No, thank you. Or more hesitant, but come in with all your ducks in a row. Everything, every question they ask, I'm like, here you go. Here you go. I've answered all your questions for to make it easier and streamline. Agreed.
Yeah, absolutely. Streamlined, seamless, no problem for them. You'll be more likely for people to say yes to you. As with any product or service, if you're solving the problem and you make it an easy yes, people will be more likely to be supportive of it and say, yeah, this is the solution for me. And, I'm still constantly amazed, like when I go to networking events and I'll meet other business owners and I'll say, hey, give me your business card. They're like, oh, I don't have a business card. It's like, why would you go to a networking event without a business card? It's the same thing. You're making it hard for me. And then they'll say stuff like, oh, well, we'll connect on LinkedIn. I'm like, you will never hear from me because
Yeah,
LinkedIn
and I
is,
won't remember you.
I won't remember you. And LinkedIn's very crowded. And once I get on LinkedIn, then my attention is diverted in other ways. So with, rethinking really what is in any situation going to make that connection easier, more seamless, and remove the friction like you did with, figuring out where could I best fit what is already happening in your business will make people more likely to turn, I don't know, to an absolute yes. And I think we've seen the success with you, Misty. Just amazing. Okay, because I'm very selfish at heart. When are you going to be launching in LA so I can walk down to my local
I
grocery
know.
store and pick up some delicious vegan treats? Because I'll let you know right now, I have a huge sweet tooth. Huge.
I know. I have family out in LA, and they are saying the same thing, like texting me, like, okay, like the people are asking when is it coming. So I don't know, let's say 2025. Let's just go ahead and put it out there. That would be so amazing. I would be so honored to have a Buttafly Kisses, even a flagship location in LA, let alone just have my products in the local stores there. I've visited there enough to see what's out there and what they need. And I think Buttafly Kisses would absolutely, matter of fact, I know Buttafly Kisses would absolutely be a winner out in LA. So let's just say 2025 and beyond.
Absolutely. Let's manifest that for you. I mean, LA is just a hub for veganism in general, very supportive. And there are a lot of these smaller stores out here because you wouldn't even have to try and be like, oh, I'm going to get into a big grocery store. We have a lot of smaller boutique type stores, which I know would be so interesting to you, and little coffee shops and things like that. And like I said, selfishly for me, because I want to eat your products quicker than
Like,
having to order them
listen,
online. I really want to make that happen for you. So perhaps offline we could like brainstorm a couple ideas around here that you could
that would be
outreach because I'm
great.
in LA and I'd be more than happy to help you utilize my contacts to get you out here a little quicker because we
Definitely.
definitely
Let's do
need
it.
Buttafly Kisses on the West Coast.
Let's go. I am in
Yeah.
agreement with you, and I'm looking forward to that.
Yes, absolutely. Okay, so let's talk a little bit about your social media because we did already mention that in the beginning. I watch you on Instagrams. I see you doing the in-store deliveries. How important is your social media marketing to your business at this point? And what do you see other things that you would like to do on the platforms that you think would really help grow your brand?
Absolutely. Social media is extremely important. I honestly feel like if I can be candid, that I need to do better because the what I'm seeing compared to what I'm doing, I feel like I'm not doing enough because I'm still running the business, right? But it is so important. Every cohort I've been in and every seminar I've gone to has talked about creating content because it's essentially free advertising for your business. So like, let's really step it up and let people know who you are, where you are, and how they can get your products. So I'm definitely a big advocate for social media, all the platforms. I had someone come in the other day and just really kind of break down how to really work TikTok because that's one I'm not familiar with. But they were like, no, absolutely. Look at your space. They just really gave me so many pointers on what I can do. They're like, it's so clean. People would love to see it. So I feel like social media is paramount because it's free advertising. You get eyes on your product from all over the world. So if you're not on social media, I feel like that is a lost cause for you, but really make an effort to jump into Facebook, TikTok, Instagram, everywhere that you can be seen and really utilize those platforms because people can recognize you from there and know about your product and you have not even met them. So it's super important.
Yeah, absolutely. And it actually allows them a way to easily share it with people too. Like I said, I'm watching your reels on Instagram and I have shared them with people. I'm like, oh my God, if you're in the Atlanta area, you should go check this out because it just looks delicious. My mouth is watering right now. It's so crazy. But yeah, definitely with, a business like yours, I would say Instagram and TikTok, just because you can have those live video moments
Yes.
that people really want to see. It's like, I would love to see how you make a vegan dessert or even decorating a cake. That's fascinating to someone like me, which, by the way, I know how to cook, but I am a terrible baker. And here's
Aw.
why. Because I don't pay enough attention, and baking is chemistry. We all know that.
It
And
is a
I've never
science.
been real good with like just paying that much attention. I just don't. My older sister, she was always the baker in our family. We called her Chrissy Crocker. But for me, that gene kind of skipped. So I'm fascinated when I meet people like you because it's magical to me. It really is. So I would love to see more behind the scenes of
Okay.
you doing your thing. And I think other people would too.
I
So,
appreciate
as we tie this up, first of all, thank you so much. It's been a pleasure to talk to you. But tell us, in case people don't know where they can find you, give us your website, give us some locations that they can find you, and then anything else you want to say.
Absolutely. Thank you for having me, Stephanie. I really appreciate it. The conversation has been great and amazing, and I appreciate the chance and the opportunity to share with everyone who I am and about Buttafly Kisses Vegan Treats. Our website is butterflykiссesatl.com. So it's spelled Buttafly Kisses.com. And that's our website. You can follow us on Instagram as well as TikTok. The handles are both the same. And it's at the business name Buttafly Kisses ATL. And we're also locally in stores. We're at 7 on the Natural Foods Market, Wadata Healthy Market and Juice Bar. We're at some tea shops and restaurants like Just That Honey. That's on the Atlanta Beltline, which is such a great space. I love that. I love that shop. It's amazing. It's my little secret getaway. We're at Cecilia's, we're our reality restaurant. We're also at other independent grocery stores coming soon. We have a new location in Tennessee that we're about to launch, and I'm going to kind of keep that on the wraps, but that's going to help us grow and expand in that market as well. But please follow us on all social media platforms, and we'll have nationwide shipping coming up very soon. I believe it's by the end of this week. Everything should be ready, locked and loaded, so that other people outside of the city of Atlanta and Georgia can also have access to Buttafly Kisses vegan treats.
Well, that is very awesome to hear. And I will make sure that I have all of your links in the show notes so people can easily click and get right over to your website. And like I said, I do follow you on social media. So for anyone listening, if you want to know where you can find some of the Buttafly Kisses Bakery treats in your local Atlanta area. I know that you're very good about listing where you can find it, the stores that are supporting you right now. So you guys make sure you go and check out her Instagram for all of that information. And with that said, Misty, it has been such a joy to talk to you. Thank you so much for coming on the show. And I cannot wait to get my first taste of Buttafly Kisses, hopefully in the very near future.
Yes, I'm gonna have to just ship you stuff so you can at least have that access, immediate access, that first take look.
I will be happy to taste anything that you send me. Thanks for listening to the Wild Party Podcast. If you're an entrepreneur or professional who would like to be on this podcast, please visit boomtownmarketing.com and click on podcast. We believe that every business has the potential to change the world for good, and we want to support our community to help make the world more ethical, compassionate, and sustainable for all future generations to come. And if you're looking to build your business, no matter what level you're at now, request your free marketing consultation at boomtownmarketing.com and click Get Started.